good at video output low. Let's see, that's what I need to know. Okay. That's what I need to figure out. We got green now. Alright, so I'm just testing some other stuff so that we can have a smooth, awesome live chat later on this evening. And there we go, video output low again. I don't know why it does that. I have to figure that out. If it's something I can... Yeah, I know. That's what I'm working on now to figure out how to get rid of the buffering issue that we had last night. I don't know if it's I gotta check out. No, that's what I'm working on now. I gotta see if it's a YouTube thing or if it's I'm too far from the Wi-Fi thing router downstairs, or if it's a software issue, or if the computer itself can't run the three programs together, if it's utilizing too much whatever. So that's the only reason I'm doing this now. I'm trying to test it and try to work out the kinks before this evening show. So let's see, because it'll show red. Like right now, it's showing red, video output low, and now it's green again. So in a minute, it won't be buffering. So I don't know why it does that yet. I don't know if it has to do with the bandwidth with YouTube itself and how many people are uploading videos at the same time, or what. I don't know. I have to figure it out. So that because I've got it set on the lowest latency, so that should reduce the buffering. Yes, we will. I just, haven't had a whole lot of time here lately, so I'm trying to do some of it now and then go run my errands and take care of some business and then come back and have a good show. That's what I'm hoping for. What I'm hoping for. What I'm hoping for. Yes, yes. Hopefully we'll get some new people in the room and they will chat. Hi, Jane. Hey, beautiful girl. So I'm just doing a test right now because I got to work out some I got to work out some issues so that it doesn't buffer as much. Um, and then so I'm doing that's all I'm doing right now, some testing so that I can have so I don't have the same issues when we do the live call-in show later on. So I'm hoping to start it somewhere between. I'd like to start at 7, but it might be 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. God willing, that is. That's East Coast time. Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why like right now the stream set is green and is healthy, right? And then it'll go to red and y'all will get buffering. And then it'll go back to green. And so now it's low again. So that's what I have to figure out why it's doing that. So it's still red. I don't know why. Sorry, I was trying to read a message from Casey. So yes, Jane, I hope you call in tonight. Hope you're feeling better. And I'm sure it's still buffering because it's showing red still. Let me see if I can Google that right now. Oh, thanks. I'm just playing around with them. It's a different program I had to use on this computer than the one I was using on the other one. It didn't allow, I think people complained as much about the buffering. Or, I don't know. Maybe it's a YouTube thing right now. I don't know. Or it's a satellite thing, or it's a CME thing, or a magnetosphere thing. I don't know if there's something that's actually interrupting it, or it's something I can fix in settings. I like this one better though because I think it's easier to add. Like if I wanted to share something from a web browser or whatever, I think it's easier to add the stuff with this. It's definitely easier to adjust the photos and stuff. Like instead of green, it says video not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So I'm not sure why that is. I'm going to Google it right now, matter of fact, because I tried to go to YouTube's, all their help files, and I can't find anything to tell me how to fix that tube. It's green again, so it should be good for a minute. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see, created, okay. I don't want to know how to promote it. I want to know how How to maintain a good, healthy stream in YouTube. Okay, here we go. How can I improve the quality of my stream? Let's see. Limit the number of ongoing tasks. Temporarily disable other internet connections. Stream during a low activity time. Oh, see, it might be a high activity time. So, yeah, I kind of figured that had something to do with it because YouTube itself only has so much bandwidth that they, and so much allocated to each user, I guess. So when there's 9 million people on at the same time, 170 people in your neighborhood logged on at the same time, you have less power or whatever, you know what I mean? So, because I've tried resetting the bit rates and the FPS and all that, and that doesn't seem to affect it. Like right now, the stream is good, so maybe 1 million people logged off at the same time or stopped live streaming or whatever they're doing. So it may just be check your internet speed, reset router if necessary, update your streaming item, establish a line of sight between your router and your streaming item. Okay. Your video streaming experience will ultimately depend on the speed and strength of your internet connection. There are a few things that can cut down on buffering and improve streaming. Probably, let me see if this helps. Let me cut this off and see if it helps. It probably won't, but we'll try. Okay. Might take a second. To the Wi-Fi from up here. It might because it's only 60%. Well, yeah, because I did oh, it's offline again. Why did it do that? Now it's rebooting again. I did a test before I started this, and it said everything was okay. So it may just be YouTube is inundated with. So I may need some kind of booster. Now the stream is healthy again, and I'm not doing anything, so it it may be just that. It may be that certain times are really popular on YouTube, and there's so many people on, around the world that it affects the stream. Um, because right now it's green. It's healthy. And then it'll go to red again. Oh, the router is downstairs. And maybe I need one of those. See, now the stream is offline. I guess it'll restart on its own. I don't know. Yep, starting on its own. I don't know. I might need a booster or something to for the router to pick up here. And it's not mine, so just Skype and antivirus. Uh, oh, let me close. Okay, hold on. Maybe this will help. Is that better now? Maybe that'll be better. We'll see. We will see. Is it better now? I mean, it's green right now. Oh, it's going red again. No, ground floor. But, you know, I can't move it because it doesn't belong to me. And, you know, this is my room, so this is where I do it at. You know, I could take the laptop downstairs and do it, but, you know, for the most part, I'd be disturbing someone else when they're home, so I don't know if there's like a Wi-Fi booster thing. I mean, I think I've seen them on commercials or something, but I don't know. I don't know how much they cost. But that may be it, because I know when I was watching Netflix, before my DVD player broke, I was watching Netflix on my TV, and I know that when I was connecting to the Wi-Fi, it you know, most of the time it would show at 60%, sometimes 47%. So, I mean, it was strong enough to play Netflix and stuff. I didn't have any buffering on that. So it's showing green again. So it should be good for the moment. By TP Link or Linksys. Yeah, I don't know how much they cost though. I have to check into that. And, you know, like I said, some of it is going to be YouTube itself when they're, I guess, when they're inundated with a bunch of people, or the area I live in. I don't know. You know, if the Wi-Fi gets bogged down because so many people are using it in the same area at the same time. I don't know. I guess this is part of their argument for 5G, because so many people are using so many devices connected to Wi-Fi now that it's slowing the process. And you know, the military needs, maybe that's why they're doing it. Maybe 5G is going to be for us regular users. Oh, $40 to $100. Um, anyway, maybe they'll stick, you know, all their stuff will be on 4G or something else, and so uh, the normal consumer's usage won't affect military stuff that they're doing, you know, especially, you know, when they're flying their planes and all that. I don't know. Or maybe it's to, you know, separate consumer and military so that they can have more protection. Who knows? I just think there's more to it than we think. You know, not just the purpose of giving us faster speeds. Because clearly it's costing them a lot to install so many individual towers. So maybe the purpose of it is it's lower and it doesn't interfere with their higher towers, you know, the frequency that they need to do their, I don't know. It just, and I also think it has to do with the worries of EMPs and CMEs and power grid outages and them being able to maintain something, and maybe that's part of the what they're spraying in the sky so that they have like a battery in the sky to run certain things. I don't know. That would be kind of dangerous though. You know, maybe that's why the electrical storms are worse. The lightning and stuff. Or it's to bounce other frequencies in radiation and stuff from hitting the lower atmosphere. Who knows? It's got to be more complex than we think. And obviously they're not going to share that, which is understandable. But I clearly don't think they're just creating it so they can give people cancer. And I know that higher frequency can't penetrate as deep. So, like it can't penetrate through walls and stuff where lower frequency can. So lower frequency can actually, and then you got dirty electricity, like electric blankets and stuff. They're bad for you. Dirty electricity's bad for you. Who knows? The sun now is bad for us too. You know, the UVC rays. And I made an error last week when I was talking about the birds, and I just remembered it. I was saying they had infrared. Well, what I guess it's kind of like infrared, but what they can see ultraviolet rays that we can't see, and maybe since we're getting the UVC rays from the sun now in our atmosphere and reaching the ground, perhaps that's causing issues with the birds as well, because they can see ultraviolet rays. Might be why they know to twerp an hour before the sun actually comes up, because they can see the ultraviolet rays rising before we can see them or something. You know, before we can see the light of the sun. But now they twerp all night, or they were twerping all night. Now you hardly hear any birds twerp. It's crazy. So you don't even see them like you used to. Spencer of the North says they all migrated to Canada. Did I ever hear about the Mandela effect? Yes, I've heard about it. I'm kind of on the fence with it, because the things that, and simply because the things that other people have said they've seen, I haven't seen yet. Like, my Bible hasn't changed. Now, of course, I wouldn't trust anything online. Anything that anybody pulls up online and says it's changed. Well, of course, someone could have changed it. So to take an actual book that was written 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and now if I opened a book and said, okay, this is not what it used to say, you know, a physical book that I have in my hands, then I would be convinced. But I haven't seen that myself, so I'm not saying it doesn't exist and other people haven't seen it. I have not seen it. And the things that I have seen, you know, where they tried to say Jif used to be Jiffy. Jif was never Jiffy. Jif was Jif. Choosy mothers choose Jif. Skippy was Skippy. And then someone took and made a picture of Jif saying Jiffy and passed it around on the internet and said, look, it used to be Jiffy. Well, I can edit any picture and make it look like, you know. So that stuff like that, and the Ford emblem. Well, the Ford emblem has been a little different. They make it different for different countries. So if they pull up a Ford emblem from the UK or from, you know, somewhere else, because advertisers they change their logos based on marketing, what they think will market in that area, what will capture people's interest in that area. And, you know, sometimes different countries, even different states, like, you know, deep south to up north to out west, you know, there's different buying habits, and there's different, so they gear the logos based on the demographics. Like what? See, it's like the lion and the lamb and the lion and the wolf thing, or the lamb and the wolf. Um, there was a popular song written. Oh, I don't remember if it was the 1920s, 40s, or whatever, 60s. Whenever the song was written, it was really popular. And then there was a poem that was really popular, and then there was a picture that was painted that was really popular. And because they used the lion and the lamb instead of the lamb and the wolf, people think that's what was in scripture. Well, the original scripture was the lamb and the wolf. So the lion the lion comes from the song and a poem and a painting where people think that was in the Bible. And then we would have some preachers, since they grew up seeing that picture and hearing that song, instead of actually going into scripture to read it, they would repeat the same thing that they grew up hearing. So I contend that it did not change in the Bible. People remember it because it was a song, a painting, and a poem that someone thought it sounded better and looked better. Because, you know, a lion's prettier than a wolf. The Looney Tunes, you remember as a kid, well, how's it different? And again, they would change it based on, you know, just like uh, Columbia Pictures, and I can't even think of all the big name uh, movie producers. Um, they changed their things over time. They used to have one of them used to have a lion, and sometimes if you watch an old movie, like you'll see their new logo, but at the very end it'll show you the old logo, which is the lion roaring, or the one where they had the Statue of Liberty. You know, they change um, with the times. You know, what was good in the 60s, and of course animation and stuff was limited back then. So spelling the words, tunes. Well, see, they may have changed it because they may have said, well, we're not teaching kids to spell right if we spell stuff the way we want to. Just like I make up words all the time. When did Looney Tunes change the spelling of tunes? Um, Looney Tunes. See, I'm getting all green now. It's not turning red. Looney Tunes started in 1947. I'm still looking it up. They had a show called Tiny Toons. They had a show called Tiny Toons that was spelled like that. And then, and then of course cartoons. But yeah, see, I mean, I can't argue with what other people remember stuff as clearly because I'm not in I'm not in their head. I'm not in their memory. I remember it differently. don't know. I don't. Oh no, that's quite all right. It's never off. Anything is topic in here. Um, yeah, I don't ever remember it as tunes, TOO, and as I remember it as the proper spelling. Now they did have Tiny Toons, and maybe that's what people remember in the back of their head, um, and just kind of put them together. So I don't know. Okay, the stream seems to be going well now. It's not doing all that buffering.
Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome back to the
I know that the memory is the memory's a funny thing. Your long term and your short term memory and how they work, and suggestions that can make you think you remember something a certain way. Um, so I know that police say that when they do an investigation, that witnesses' memory is, that's why they like to get it fresh at the time. And because recall on a lot of things, you can ask 10 people that stood there and saw the same thing, and they'll all say something different that they saw because of what they were focused on. So, oh, that's right. So, like I said, I haven't seen anything myself that convinces me. And that's just me. Like I said, I can't say that it doesn't exist for other people. And I don't have anybody else's memory, so thank the Lord for that. I don't think I have dual personality, so I only have my memory, no one else's. um, I just haven't personally seen anything that convinces me that it was just like they thought, shoot, what's his name? Uh, darn it. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. See, there goes my memory. uh, the preacher that died a little while back, and everybody said, "Oh, that's a Mandela effect because he died years ago." Well, he didn't die years ago. His wife did, and so they were hearing about that, and then they just were thinking, because they heard his name, they would always hear his name first. The pastor, blah blah blah, his wife died. So they were assuming it was it. I guess they never really read the article because they weren't interested in him dying or whatever. So it was in the back of their head, and they remember his name and the word dying or dead or death or funeral or whatever, and that's where they left it in their short or long term memory. And then, so when they hear he died, they're like, wait a minute, I heard that years ago. And I'm like, no, that's not what you heard years ago. Years ago, you heard his wife died. And, yeah, Billy Graham was one. And then there's been several where people would come back and say, they died. How many times is that person going to die? I'm like, well, they only died once. Or it went to sleep once, because Jesus said it's asleep. But I just, like I said, I know there's a lot going on, and I know that the frequencies and the radiation and the magnetosphere, you know, because we got metals in our body, trace metals in our body, and now scientists claim they found a little magnet in our brain, which kind of makes sense. But so no doubt things are changing, and just like the unveiling is happening, but the unveiling, I think, is more complex than some people think it is. But you know, I can't say the Mandela effect doesn't exist. I just say that I personally have not uh, found concrete evidence to convince me. I haven't seen anything that I know for sure. I can tell you none of my books have changed, and I have good memory recall. You know, I remember back to 2.5 years old. Not everything, of course, but I remember, you know, some traumatic events with clear detail. You know, like when our house was set on fire by our father, and we were getting into the car, and at first I was trying to wake the rest of my brothers and sisters up, because we all slept in one little room, and I was trying to wake them up. I'm like, fire, fire, get up, get up. And I was trying to pull on my brother's leg or on his foot to wake him up, and I ended up pulling his sock off. And then I remember when we got in the car, and I was sitting in the middle of the back seat, and I'm like, why are we leaving Daddy behind? Daddy's going to burn up. Daddy's going to burn up. And I didn't know at the time he was the one that had set the fire. That's why she was leaving him behind. But, you know, he was trying to collect insurance money. So he set a fire with all of us asleep in the house. So anyway, I remember the details. And then I remember we had this shack we were living in with no electricity. And we weren't allowed to have toys. People weren't allowed to give us toys. And someone gave me a doll, and he took it, but I had kept the baby doll dress from it. And so I would sneak and try to wash it. We had one of those old-fashioned things outside. And my arm got caught in it, and it was bleeding, and it was stuck, and I was crying for my mom, and it seemed like it took her forever to come around there. And it was sunny outside, and it was a little shack we had in the woods with no windows and broken doors and yada yada. And then I remember some strange man taking a bath. It wasn't a bathtub. It was it was some kind of basin in the middle of like what should have been the living room. We didn't have living room furniture, so it was just, you know, whatever. And I remember the strange man being naked in that basin. Of course, I couldn't see anything other than, you know, the top of him, but I was like, why is this strange man taking a bath here? But and then I remember when the sheriffs and deputies, whatever they were, came with shotguns on the side porch to take our father away. And I'm guessing that was after he had set the fire, because he had asked my older sister to lie about it and say that our mom had done it, and she wouldn't lie for him. So he did some time for that. I remember the first day we pulled up into the adopted family's driveway. And then I remember the next time that the social worker came to visit, and I was washing dishes. I was 4 years old, and I was standing on a stool washing the dishes, and she took me off the stool and said, don't tell the social worker you were washing the dishes. I'm like, okay. And then I remember one time my sister and I were on the bus, and it was my birthday, and I had gotten a balloon. I had gotten 2 balloons. I gave a balloon to my sister, and her balloon fell out the window, or flew out the window, and I cried because I was like, oh, she lost her balloon. And I felt so bad. But anyway, yeah, I have lots of vivid memories. So it's hard to convince me of the Mandela effect. Especially when I can go back when I have, like the hardcore book, when I have the book here and the book hasn't changed, and I can go to the library and a book that was published and edited 30 years ago hasn't changed. Like I said, nothing I see online will convince me, because anybody can edit anything online. They can mirror sites and make it look like this is from the Ford site, and look, this is what the logo used to be, and this is what the logo is now, or stuff like that. Thank you. Oh, it's okay. All my experiences and all the disappointments in life were a way for me to learn things that clearly, God wanted me to learn and wanted me to be able to recognize and help other people with. So I used to be angry about some things, I was like, I've had such an unfair life. Why? You know, and especially in adulthood, when things would happen, I'm like, haven't I suffered enough? But then I think about how Jesus suffered, and oh, nobody could ever suffer like that. And he did that just so he could show his love and we could be saved. So nothing I've ever been through is, can compare to that. So do I feel shortchanged sometimes? I used to. I used to. Especially when I found out the people that were supposed to adopt me that didn't get me were millionaires. I was like, really? I'm struggling to eat and I could have been part of a millionaire family? How unfair is that? It was my aunt and uncle that I've never met. I spoke to her on the phone maybe 15, 20 years ago. She works for the Gun Rifle Association in they live up there in Maryland somewhere, and her name's Priscilla. So she was trying to adopt me, but that didn't happen. So anyway, when I found that out, I'm like, wow, I was really ripped off, but whatever. She actually was funny, well, at least the stories I've heard about her. Like, she's like a really smart person, but she has uh like no common sense or something. And so they were like, she put on two different shoes in the dark and didn't realize they were two different shoes. And she's like, oh my gosh, my leg is shorter than the other one. I gotta go to the doctor. Something is wrong. And then another time they were driving down the road, and you know how the bugs hit the windshield, right? She was like, I know, I'll speed up so the bugs can't hit the windshield. That's just going to make them hit it harder. But that's the kind of person she was. So I'm sure it would have been, loads of fun living in their house, because she was a character. And then it would have been nice to have money to go to college and, I mean, I've got a year of college, but anyway, it just would have been nice if circumstances could have been a little different, a little better financially, and then I think of all the good things that I could have done, had I had. I mean, we can still do good things. Don't get me wrong, we can do good things, but I could have done more to help more people. But anyway, but that wasn't God's will for me. God's will for me was to be able to relate to people really struggling, people really having abuse issues and financial issues and whatever. Um, I think the biggest issue with that was when I was trying to reach out to God. Well, for all the years that I didn't believe in Him, but like, it's like my gut was telling me something was there, but my conditioned response, if I didn't trust parents, then how would I trust something I can't see? because you grow up thinking you're supposed to be able to trust your parents. Yes, most of the rich are out of poor. Not even the rich, just the middle class, or I wasn't even middle class, but I was doing okay. And I can tell you, I didn't have the same perspective that I do now for the working poor, you know. And I remember one time I was telling this guy, he used to come into the bar all the time telling me, he was applying for jobs and couldn't find a job and couldn't find a job and couldn't find a job. Or there was no jobs or whatever he said. And so one day I brought the newspaper in with me because I never looked at the employment section because I wasn't looking for a job. I know that back in the old day when I used to look at the employment section, and actually there was its own section in the newspaper, its own, and it'd be 30 pages of jobs. That was back in the day, like when I was 18, 19, 20. And then so I never paid attention to where the job market was at, because I didn't have to. So I brought the newspaper in because I used to just, I used to get the newspaper and I'd read the local news and, obituaries and do the little puzzles and stuff in it. So anyway, look at the sales ads, of course. But so I took the newspaper in, told him to open it up, and I said, go to the employment section and tell me there's no jobs. He opened up the employment section. Not only does it not have its own section anymore, there was 2 jobs. The rest were people paying to find a job. That was it. 2 jobs. For 5 cities, 2 jobs listed. I was like, wow, okay. And I felt so bad because all this time I was kind of judging him in my own head. I didn't say it to him, but I was kind of judging him that he's not really looking for work. And oh my goodness, I had no clue until I was, going to show him how many jobs there were out there. And then, so yeah, when you're struggling when you're worried about your next meal, or if you can keep your phone on, or if you can put gas in your car, or if you can keep your auto insurance paid so you don't lose your license, um, and then once you lose your license, it's thousands of dollars to get it back, and then you have to carry special insurance after that for 3 years, which is extra money. And then everybody punishes the poor financially. So if you're late on a payment because you don't have the money, they make it to the point where you can't just make the late payment, and with a little late fee, they make it exorbitant where you end up losing whatever it is, because if you don't have the money, just like your insurance, if you're late on your payment, so they end up doubling your rate. Well, if you were struggling to pay the amount that you were struggling to pay, what happens when they double your rate? Obviously, you're going to lose your insurance, because you can't make money out of thin air. And if you're the working poor and that's all that you earn, and it's not like you can go get 3, 4 jobs nowadays. It's the job market is, oh my gosh. And then, it's people are backstabbing with each other because they want to keep the job, or they want more hours, and so they try to say stuff or set the other person up, and it's so much. It's so desperate now, where it didn't used to be. Yes, greed has taken over, but not just. It is not just greed. Greed is for the greedy, yes, but I'm talking about the working poor that are desperate, trying to feed their kids or trying to keep gas in the car so they can get to work, or forget maintenance on your car. Your car ends up dying on you. Um, because you can't do maintenance, and forget going to the doctors, forget taking your medicines, because once you become the working poor, you can't do any of that. And there's no, the stuff that used to be out there, I guess, I don't know because I never used it, but the stuff that used to be out there, medical help, that's not there anymore since the Obamacare thing. And so they penalize my taxes. So instead of getting a little tax return back every year, I owe. you know. So I'm 3 years behind on that right now. But anyway, yeah, it gave me a whole new perspective of the struggle that, you know, I always felt for people and I always helped people, but I didn't realize, you know, what they really went through. And then when you can't afford your hair products, you know, I mean, you can get stuff from the dollar store, but when you can't afford the, you know, certain things to maintain your looks, to maintain your car, to maintain where you're living, to maintain your wardrobe, you know, things that wear out. And then so you start looking poor, and you start to look poorer and poorer and poorer. Yes, yes, I agree. There, you know, yes, there is major greed. The richer people are, well, not everybody, of course, but the richer a non-Christian is, the more they want. And instead of being like, oh, you know, I'm blessed and I'm thankful to have what I have, who can I help? You know, and because money makes money, why can't you set up some money to the interest from it goes to help someone, you know, or you know what I mean? There's you if you help, like you don't buy a man a fish dinner. You buy him a fishing pole and you teach him how to fish. You don't buy another country some food. You pay for a well to be put in so they can grow their own food. So it's sustainable. Yes, you know, giving someone a hot meal, that's awesome. We do it all the time. You know, we fix meals and serve them to the homeless and whatnot, and that's awesome. That's awesome for that moment. But how do you, you know, you got to help a person help themselves, and most people, and not everybody. No, not everybody wants that, because some people just want to take advantage of people. But most people, I think, well, see, I'm speaking from my own perspective. Most people want to be able to do for themselves. They want that security, because you're only secure if you're doing for, you know, well, you're secure if you got God on your side, but you know what I mean. So that's how I see that. So anyway, it seems that whatever the issue was, I don't think it's, have you buffered in a while? Because it's been showing me a good, green, healthy live stream for the last, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. Yes, I agree with that, Patrick. So has it buffered on your end lately? Because it's been showing um, green on my end for the last 20 minutes or so. And I got to get out of here. I got things to do. There's a tradition here in Newfoundland that you always set an extra place at the table for a stranger. Oh, really? That's sweet. So has it been, oh, so has it been, okay, well, it hasn't been buffering here for some reason. But I can tell you, there's a difference, too, when you're on a computer or if you're on a phone. Okay, well, or if you're traveling, like, you know, when I'm driving and I'm trying to listen to a YouTube thing, it'll buffer. Um, but I know there's a difference if you watch it on a computer. Sometimes it'll buffer more on the computer It's starting to buffer now. See, it's still showing healthy here. So, I don't know. Oh, now it's red. Now I said that, now it's red. So, yeah, it's low output again. So, I'll try to work on that when I get back, I guess. But for now, I need to close out and get to get taking care of the stuff I got to take care of, because today's the only day I got to do it. So, let me go take care of some business. And thank you for stopping in. And I know it's still buffering right now because it's still showing red on my end. And now it's green again. Okay. All right. Thank you. And God bless you. And God bless everyone. And yes, we will have a lovely show this evening. And, you know, it's not limited to certain topics. I mean, if people want to talk about anything, almost anything, we can cover it. God bless you. Thank you. And now it's healthy again. So, I don't know. All right. Thank you. See you this evening. And oh, I gotta figure out how to exit again, duh.